It never ceases to amaze me just how many people on the internet will believe something that is not only ridiculous, but is an outright lie. Maybe they're just gullible and want to believe a narrative that they want to believe. They want to believe that someone who has committed a crime has been sentenced, been sent away, and is doing what they're supposed to do now. And they're not getting in trouble. Well, on a recent live stream, someone, was talking about another individual, another inmate, and wishing them bad behind bars and saying they deserve what comes to them, and rightfully so, in so many ways for the type of charges that they have allegedly committed. They deserve everything that they have coming. But I wanted to take the moment today to talk to you about Christopher Watts. How has life behind bars in the Dodge Corrections Center at Waupun in Wisconsin, how is he getting along? Because there seems to be an awful lot of misinformation, a narrative that he is trying to spread from behind bars. So let's take a look at just how Christopher Watts is doing behind bars. First, let us never forget August 13th, 2018, a day that changed the lives for so many. That is the day that Christopher Watts killed his wife Shanann, his unborn son Nico, his daughter Celeste, Cece, and his daughter Bella. 2 days later, on August 15th of 2018, Christopher Watts confessed that he killed him, but not before he went and spread a narrative on Channel 7 Denver on the 13th, and then on the 14th gave a phone interview saying that he is hoping that his wife and his little girls come running back through the door. But he knew they were never coming back through that door, because again, he murdered them. He murdered his wife while she was asleep. Then he woke up his 2 little girls with a ruse that mommy was sick, and loaded them into the truck with their mother's deceased body on the floor at their feet. Took them out to an oil tank and murdered them one by one, and then stuffed them into an oil drum. Then buried his wife in a shallow grave in the desert. That all happened on August 13th, 2018. So, on August 15th, Christopher Watts confessed. Not once, but twice he confessed to murdering his family. Then, shortly thereafter, he took a plea deal, saving us all the heartache and the families and the loved ones and everyone from the heartache of having to go through a trial. He took a plea deal that took the death penalty off of the table. That was his only concession that he wanted. Not to go through a trial, not to cause any more pain, and to have the death penalty taken off the table. The state of Colorado was more than happy to offer that for him. By taking that plea, he decided then and right there, in the actual pleading agreement, he gave up all rights to ever have a trial, to ever face his accuser, the state of Colorado, to ever test evidence. Everything he gave up that day. He had 2 avenues to appeal. Those appeals processes are the following. 1, the court made a grievous error in determining the total sentence for Christopher Watts. The second and the only other avenue to an appeal was that his attorney did not aid in helping him strike the actual plea agreement, did not fight for him, did not offer any legal counsel. Any first-year attorney entering law school can tell you, by now, after all these years, if there was ever an avenue to appeal on those two and only two grounds that he has available to him, we would have known about it by now. And there's nothing there. But yet, there are people out there on the internet who are probably watching this right now, who are angrily firing off comments to me that I'm wrong. I have studied this case inside and out, and I have documented more things about this case than you will ever learn in a book written by some 2-bit author who, just made up a lot of conjecture, or people who have based Lifetime movies on it. I have more of the facts in this case than anyone, and I hate every bit of it, because every day of my life I have to walk past the filing cabinet of files that are all filled with the documents from the Christopher Watts case. So he had an assessment where they go over psychological needs, physical needs, health-wise. They go over his security risk assessment. Is he likely to break out of prison? Is he going to need security in prison to protect him from other inmates? All of it goes together to give a score, from a score of 0 to 30. Christopher Watts was given a complete score of 19, meaning he would not qualify for a low security prison or even a medium security prison. He needed to go to a maximum, is a maximum security prison assessment score. And again, he got a 19 on the assessment. He was then put into the federal prison system, and the first available prison to answer back to the state of Colorado was Waupun Corrections Center in Wisconsin. Dodge Corrections Center. So there is where they sent him. How is Christopher Watts getting along now? Is he keeping his nose clean behind bars? Is he someone of a religious, leader, or someone that people look up to for spiritual advice? Well, let me answer the last one first. Is he a spiritual advisor or someone that people look up to, for spiritual, guidance? No. Absolutely no. He is no one. He just sits and thinks most of the day. He is in not a general population pod, but a secured pod is what they call it. These are people who are either former gang members or they have likewise charges like Christopher Watts does. They've killed, murdered someone else, either their wives or children or, someone else. He is with nothing but other murderers. What does he do for a living? Not much. He's had a couple of different jobs, and there's a lot of misinformation on the internet that says that he works in a library, or he delivers library books, or some variation of that. He has never, not one day since he has been behind bars in Colorado or in the state of Wisconsin, has he worked as a librarian or worked delivering books. He has never had that job. This is all public information, but yet on the internet people believe this, malarkey that is being spread, that he has that as a job. Christopher Watts' true job. He works a total of 2.5 hours per day, and he works 3 days a week, and that's it. What does he do? He does janitorial work. In his actual housing pod itself, he is responsible for mopping the floors. The shower area, which you can only guess is the absolute disgusting when you put 30 men in one unit and you have a shower area. His job is to clean that, to clean the floors of the dining room area, the general area where everybody sits and watches television or does whatever they want, sit and read. He is responsible for that. On top of that, 1 day a week for the 2 hours that he's out of that podding area, he works vacuuming the hallways and sweeping the hallways in the area that leads to the pod. And that's it. Has he gotten any trouble since he's been behind the bars of, there in Wisconsin? Oh, yes, he has. They have a series of level 1, level 2, and a level 3 infraction. A level 3 infraction is for contraband or being caught with a weapon. A level 2 infraction is someone, maybe you're in an area you shouldn't be in, an unauthorized person in an unauthorized area or something along that lines. A level 1 is having contraband or having some material that does not belong to you. Maybe he won it in a poker game, or you lost it in a poker game and it ends up in someone else's cell, or whatever. But that is a very minor infraction. Christopher Watts, in 2020, not even 2 full years after arriving at Waupun Dodge Corrections Center, Christopher Watts received 2 write-ups, 2 infractions total that year. And they weren't at the same time for the same offense. Was for unauthorized communication with someone who is not on his approved communication list. You must have approval for whoever you call, you talk to, write to, and the same for in and out communication. 1 infraction. It is a minor infraction, but still an infraction for communication with someone not authorized. Later, the same year, in 2020, Christopher Watts received another infraction for having, or transferring his property to another inmate. Did that inmate take it from Christopher Watts, or did Christopher Watts more than likely give it up to that other inmate for protection? But 2 infractions in 2020. Fast forward almost another 2 years, and Christopher Watts had an additional 2 more unauthorized infractions. Those infractions were for the following: unauthorized person in an area he shouldn't be in. That is a middle level infraction. Christopher Watts was in an area he shouldn't and does not have authorization to be in. That is a medium level infraction. The second one was not even 6 months later. The very same infraction again. An unauthorized person being in an area that don't belong. A medium level infraction again. Not even another 6 months later, in 2023, he got the same infraction again. What has been his punishment? For the first 2 infractions that he had, he lost access to the canteen. That's commissary, if you will, where he gets his snacks, his ho-hos, his ding-dongs, his honey buns, his ramen noodles. He lost access to the canteen for 30 days. Additionally, he lost access and the ability to use the phone or the CCTV system, which is a tablet device. That he lost those for 15 days. For the unauthorized person, being in an unauthorized area, 3 times he has been written up for that infraction. Each time he has been confined to his cell and lost the ability to work or to freely move within his housing pod. They lock him in, basically giving him his own solitary confinement in his cell. And that was for 5 days for each infraction. But 5 days for each infraction. Has he learned his lesson? No. No, because now he's back in the news again, blaming everyone else under the sun, but still not taking any responsibility all these years later for what he confessed to doing and what we know he did. He's never going to change. See, the problem is a lot of people are missing what Christopher Watts really is. Besides being a giant asshole and a narcissist, he's also an habitual liar. His entire life, prior to meeting Shanann in 2010, he was a liar. A lot of people stayed away from him because they couldn't trust him. They couldn't rely upon him because he was an habitual liar. He always made himself out to be something bigger and better than he ever was. He didn't leave mechanic school because he had carpal tunnel. He left mechanic school because he couldn't follow the rules, and then came up with the excuse of having carpal tunnel. But almost immediately went to work turning wrenches on an oil pipeline with the same risk, with no surgery or anything else in between then. Does it sound like he had carpal tunnel? Or, again, it's just another lie that came from Christopher Watts? Now, he wants you to believe, ladies and gentlemen, that he lost his way from Jesus Christ, and he was tempted by the devil that is known as Nicole Kissinger. Someone that I swear upon my life, if there was a shred of evidence that was ever put forth to the police department, then you better believe they investigated every single allegation out there. Because they did. They even went and talked to the person who said that they were his gay lover, Trent Bowles. They didn't just take Trent Bowles' word for it that he made it up later on. They investigated it. And they investigated everything about Nicole Kissinger. They looked into everything. She deleted some things from her cell phone? Yes. But she had 2 cell phones. One company provided and her personal line. They went to the cell phone company and got all of the retrieved data that was deleted. And the only thing she deleted was pictures of herself that she had sent to Chris, along with planning on when they were going to get together and go on vacation again, along with some pretty, rude and disgusting, communication between the two of them about what they wanted to do the next time they got together. That is what she deleted from the phone. Her GPS never showed that she was at the house. Her cell phone never left her apartment the day of the murders. If she, again, anything, being an accessory to the crime, being there out on the street that day, being anywhere near it, or communicating and telling him to do it, they would have charged her if there was a shred of evidence of it. But there wasn't. But yet, all these years later, so many people are still convinced that she was involved and that she should be in prison right next to him. That's the world we live in. That's the type of people who are out there. I'm not even going to get started on those who have sent money to Christopher Watts while he's been behind bars, or those who have given money to bogus GoFundMe accounts to hire new attorneys for Christopher Watts for his appeal. That's just how gullible the world is out there. The information is right on the internet. All you need to do is Google it, and the information is right there. Spend 5 minutes and look for the information yourself. But if you want to give away your entire nest egg to free a man who committed not 1, not 2, but a triple homicide, because the state of Colorado has no law against killing baby Nico, the unborn child, but a triple murderer. If you want to give away your nest egg, don't give it to Christopher Watts. Please, I beg of you. Give it to a charity that will do something with it. Give it to wounded warriors, taking care of veterans, because they deserve better than their own government is treating them. Give it to, Next Up for Autism, who is doing the most they can with the money that they get to help treat, and take care of children on the autism spectrum. And if nothing else, none of those sound good, give your money to United Way. I get nothing from this. From the day one of reporting on Christopher Watts and the Watts murders, every dime that I have earned from AdSense, Super Chat, Super Thanks, every single dime, and then some, I have donated to the United Lupus Foundation of America in Shannon's name. It is, again, public record. I have it on my taxes, and I show it everywhere. I don't need to, nor should I have to. But I do it anyways. Because I don't want to gain from this. I don't want the memory of this. The family, the Roost checks, don't want the memory of this. They want to wake up tomorrow and pray that this has all been a terrible nightmare. But their daughter, their grandchildren are safe. I don't want to wake up tomorrow and remember that Christopher Watts is only just one family annihilator out there. There will be more. And there's nothing we can do to ever stop them. Because that's the world we live in. And it's going to get worse and worse and worse.